I do not believe it will let me flip it over. My apologies. Alright, and with that, I think we're good. Welcome everyone to this very strange edition of our stream. We're going to be designing a new villain tonight. It's going to be the main villain for the next chapter. Let me just plug my phone in. Whoops. Give me 1 second to adjust. Still trying to get used to this new setup. It's a very strange setup for me. Alright, so we're going to be designing a new villain tonight. You might be seeing all this is upside down, but there's nothing I can really do about that, and I'm sorry. My computer is currently going through a bunch of system updates, so this is going to have to do for tonight. Right now, our villain is going to be clad in a gas mask. He's going to have equipment on his arms. He's going to be covered in basically a bodysuit. So we're going to be designing all of that. And I believe we can just go ahead and get started and get right into it. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. The stream will be rather quiet tonight because I can't use my phone for music now. But that's what you have to do sometimes. You have to adapt, you live and learn. I'm going to start with his head. The main part of his body. And please let me know if there's anything I need to fix or anything I need to adjust. Just please give me a heads up. Alright, we're just going to build a basic body first, because you can't really have a person without their basic anatomy. Down here will be his hands. And there we have our villain's basic body. Now, I go through this process with a lot of my characters. I design them in just a standing position or in a more dynamic pose, but for this guy, he's kind of menacing, but he's still very thin and lanky and kind of not healthy-ish. So we're going to go ahead and sketch him that way. Just build out his head a little bit. Let me adjust this light. I again apologize for the very weird setup we have going for this stream, but unfortunately there's not much I can do about it. My computer is going through a full system update. It decided to do this right before we started going live. So thank you, Apple, for that. Now, I drew him in the previous chapter as having a big hood, and we're going to keep that. And once again, we have the basic framework. We're just going to build on it. And you usually draw muscles as kind of balloons, as I like to draw them as. You kind of draw them as balloons with joints as circles. But you still do have to know how each balloon behaves and what's too big and what isn't. And I nearly forgot the question of the week. The question for this week is, if you could see any comic book adapted into a movie, what would it be and why? We've seen many comics adapted into movies, such as The Dark Knight or Superman Returns. But I'm wondering, what comic book or what issue specifically would you like to see go to the silver screen? Once again, right now we're just building the basic body. And he'll have long, lanky legs. His torso's a bit long, so we're gonna raise his waist up to about there. That's where it should be. And for those of you looking at it upside down, there you go. That's a little bit better view of it. Make it a little less harsh. And remember, this is a concept sketch, so it might not be what the final product ends up looking like. Now, I made his head a little bit big. That's a problem I always keep on having. But the thing with drawing in pencil is that you have an eraser for a reason. And there's our basic body that we have built. Now I know this leg, notice this leg is a little bit lopsided, so I'm just going to fix that real quick before we move on to actually designing his outfit. Now that we have all of this sketched out, I believe we can move on if I can actually just... Actually does help me a little bit. Now that we have his basic body sketched out, we can go ahead and design the outfit. And for him, I wanted to make him kind of alien, menacing looking, while also keeping him grounded. So for his mask, I decided on a gas mask. And you'll notice in the chapter that he debuts in, you'll see that he actually spews smoke from his wrist. That actually isn't smoke. It's supposed to be nanobots that are so small it looks like just smoke crowding the street. But we are going to add some big containers for the nanobots on his wrist. They're supposed to kind of look like shackles, or if you've seen My Hero Academia, they kind of look like Bakugo's wrist things, except his look like grenades. So we kind of have the idea of the gas mask in play. make it look like fabric, we're going to add some wrinkles to it. If you are just tuning in, we are designing a villain from my webcomic, Project Valkyrie. You can search it up on Webtoon. It is Project VALKYRIE, I believe. Then for his mask, we might add a mouthpiece there. He's going to be wearing something underneath his jacket here. Now the hard part comes next, and that's going to be designing his torso. And I'm not quite sure exactly what I want to do with it, but I'm thinking, yeah, a couple of belts will work here. So I think what we're going to do is, he's kind of mentally unhinged, and I want to kind of show that in his design, in that he has a jacket, but it's very much lopsided, and he keeps this part open. And he doesn't use the zipper that's on it. He uses these straps to keep it closed, so it's kind of also, not only does it show like binding, but it's also a sort of way to show that it communicates the idea of a straitjacket a little bit. Plus, you can't quite have a good anime design without an overuse of belts and zippers. That's going to be a way oversized buckle, just to kind of accentuate his cartoonishly small frame. For those of you that are looking at it upside down, it's actually been a while since I've done traditional art, so this is actually a good refresher for me on the correct way to do pencil strokes and pen strokes, and the right way to do line art and shadow. It's always been my belief that you should master traditional art before going to digital, so that way your style transfers over fairly easily. Now he wears a shirt underneath that, and we'll move on to his pants next. And I kind of have a certain look in mind for his pants. I wanted his knees to have this sort of striping across the front, which we will clean up later. His pants will kind of be loose down there. We may add boots later. I'm not entirely certain, but we will get to his boots eventually. Now, for his sleeves, his jacket would be long sleeved, but since he's wearing these huge cuffs on his wrists, we're going to have him roll up his sleeves. And we'll have it attached right there. Now, when designing characters, you can make a million little decisions a minute, like what color you want everything to be, and you can change what your character's personality is like based on their clothing. But for this guy, he's kind of like a basic thug villain, so he's going to have very basic features, a very basic, just ooh, scary design, because he feels he's very menacing, but he hides behind a mask to hide the fact that he actually isn't. I believe for his... He has multiple canisters around his wrist, and he can control the nanobots in these canisters telepathically. He has a chip in his head that's connected via like a radio signal to these nanobots. And again, for a proper character design, he would probably have those cuffs on their own like design page. But for now, I guess that will be okay. And I believe I do actually want his boots to come up over his pants. I don't know if he should wear tails. Should his jacket have... Yeah, I think that would look good. His jacket could have tails. And then his boots would probably also have straps on them, because I really want to play up the belt motif. And his main motif is going to be black and red, a lot like the other gang members in the comic. And looky there, we have designed our own villain in just under 20 minutes. He's going to have a black jacket. I believe I can make a different color for his belts, but the inside of his jacket will be red. His pants will also be black, so we can go ahead and just kind of do that for him. And for now, for a concept sketch, that's actually pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and grab an ink pen where I can find one. I'll be right back, y'all. It'll be just one moment. I will be extremely careful. Is it a fountain pen? Or? Oh yeah. I can't use a fountain pen. Not for this. No. Just like a regular ballpoint pen. Oh wait, I forgot.
You knew it would be a good idea to bring that.
Alrighty, I am back, and thank you to a generous donation from my roommate, from my sweet mate. We now have an extra pen. I completely forgot this one was here, though. So I guess we'll just use this one. We only use the finest art materials here, and this magnificent pen cost a grand total of $5 for a pack of 4 from Walmart. So we only use the highest quality art supplies here. And now, this is probably the hardest part of the design phase, and it's finalizing everything, because once you put something down in ink, you cannot take it back. We're going to go ahead and start on his leg here, so that way we can... We're going to put in some wrinkles, because his clothes don't fit like they are tailored. They're actually quite loose-fitting. Now for his knees, I'm going to arch this part up. I believe we can just make it a solid dome across. And we're going to do some stripes across his knees. And now once you have done your line work there, you probably want to blow on it to dry your ink. And once it's dry, you can erase your pencil work wherever you were working. Just makes it look a little bit cleaner, and you can clean up your lines just a bit by making it all a similar thickness. Now once again, I'm not an expert traditionally. I work more digitally. But if you do have any questions about creating art like this, let me know and I will try my best to answer them. line his boots. And I think that he's kind of poor since he's working in a gang. So we can put a little chip in the top of his boot there, make it look like it's kind of worked a lot. Now, one detail I did forget to put in the pencil sketch was buckles on all of these belts. Now remember, a belt will never be wider than the buckle, so we want to try and draw it even thickness all the way through. And do not be afraid to turn your drawing. I'm simply hesitating turning my drawing for the betterment of the stream to kind of see what I'm doing. For those of you wondering how I got this weird stream set up, I have shoved my phone into the bottom of my bed springs in order to keep it from falling on my desk. And it seems to be working rather well. But please feel free to leave comments in chat. Or leave a follow if you want to see more of this kind of content. Now you want to try and put wrinkles into your clothes wherever there would be a joint. So since there's an ankle right here, we put wrinkles there to show that it bends right there. Now the bottom of his boots are going to be pure black, so I can just go ahead and color that in with ink. Now we blow to dry our ink. Kind of funny. Oh, and then here 3 to 4 seconds later. Very funny. Well, at least I know that way the stream quality is good for anyone tuning in. The man in chat right now is my dorm mate, Mr. Ian. See, this is why you wait until your ink is completely dry. We just smudged it a little bit, but that's okay because this is just a concept piece. Alright, and now we'll start on the other leg. Add a wrinkle at his knee because it bends right there. And for this, we definitely want symmetry on his pants. One, two, three. So 2, 3. Now this boot, I think we might do something interesting with it. Thank you for the follow, Lore Master Yataris, or Yintaris. Appreciate the follow. If you type the command !Discord or !Twitter, you can find my Discord and my Twitter down below. You can also find my webcomic, Project Valkyrie, by, I believe, typing !Comic. We're that much closer to making affiliate. See, now this boot looks torn because the upper part, like if this is the top of the boot, this part is torn and is hanging down. So it gives a little bit of asymmetry and makes the design more interesting. And you can use asymmetry in your designs to your advantage. One example I can think of is Neapolitan from the show RWBY. Her design is based all on asymmetry. Since she is themed after Neapolitan ice cream, most of her design has brown on one side with corresponding pink on the other. It's especially prevalent in her hair, and a lot of her design is based around those 3 colors, pink, white, and brown. Alright, and remember at his ankle, we're going to put a wrinkle in order to show that his clothes bend right there. And there's another foot. And now we're going to blow on it, make sure that the ink is dry. And then we're going to erase some of our line work so we can clean up our new inked line art. Once again, make sure it is dry completely before you erase near any pure black. Alright, and I think we'll move on to his coattails now. And I think I want his coattails at the ends to kind of fold in, so we're going to draw a little triangle. That kind of simulates his tails coming in. Thank you for the clarification, Lore Master. Alright, it seems we're about 30 minutes into the stream, so I'm going to take a quick water break, but I will be right back. Y'all don't go anywhere, it'll be just a couple seconds. Remember, y'all, it is always important to stay hydrated while you are drawing. You can get distracted very easily, and it can be detrimental if you get dehydrated. Alright, and we're back to business. And we're just going to clean up our pencil sketches around here. My main goal right now is to just get the line art for this done so we can post it to social media and use it to advertise our next stream and the next chapter of the comic. Now again, since we're doing his arms, his elbows bend, so his fabric will wrinkle up. I don't know why I was picking up my pencil when we were working on line art. My apologies. Alright, now for the hardest part of the entire drawing, his hands. But there's a very simple method to hands. I kind of ignored it, but at the same time I obeyed it. There's a little triangle right here, and then you just draw another triangle off the tip for the finger. And then for the rest of the fingers, do the same thing, and it makes a good relaxed hand. Partially hidden by his thumb. I'm going to go ahead and clean up this line art here. Alright, now to clean up the line art on this arm. Alright, time for his hood. Now I made his hood comically big on purpose, so that way it's very noticeable and it's a very prominent part of his design. Alright, we've got about 10 minutes left on stream. I'm hoping I can just finish up this line art. Maybe doodle a small little something in the corner of the page. Maybe add some info about him. Not entirely sure. But we'll be done with this at the end of the stream. I don't think we'll have a mouthpiece for him because it looks more menacing and more sinister. So he'll just have these big, unblinking eyes.